What's going on, everyone? Anthony Drew Gary here, host of the How To Show, where we talk about optimizing life, money, and happiness one how to at a time. One of the reasons that I really like doing this show is that I get to bring on guests who are doing neat and creative things, and I get to share it with you, and ultimately it gets me a way to connect with people that maybe I haven't connected with in a while, or just gives me an opportunity to continue to grow and learn about things that maybe I wouldn't be able to otherwise. And I think this episode is no different. I will have a guest on this week's show. I'm very thankful that Sydney Brown is going to join me, and she's going to talk about how to start a side hustle. This is something that she did over the course of 2020, and I think she's been doing a great job. I've been following her progress on it, and I just want to get a little bit more of her story. You know, selfishly, I'm interested in what she's done and how she's done it because I think she's been a pretty big success in what she's been trying to do. And so hopefully this video will be able to add value to other people watching it by being able to show the steps in what it looks like to have an idea for a business or for a side hustle or just some way to generate extra income and to work a plan to get it into action and to see some results from it. So I want to share Sydney's story with you, and selfishly, I want to hear it for myself. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Sydney on the show. Sydney Brown, welcome to the How To Show. I hope you're doing well today.
Thanks, Anthony. I appreciate it. I sure am.
Well, fantastic.
Doing well.
So we're going to talk this episode through about how to start a side hustle. And you came to mind when I wanted to talk about doing this because it's my understanding that you have done this recently. And so I wanted to get some boots on the ground, real information about how this is going for you and some of the steps that you took to get that going. And so
Sure.
From the very beginning, what kind of side hustle did you get off the ground? What are you doing?
Sure. So, given the state of COVID, I was actually placed on a furlough from my Monday through Friday. And I kind of was inspired to do something a little bit different, something I had dabbled in before. And so I actually started up a mobile detailing business. So it's called Dependable Detail. And, through a couple quick purchases and kind of some quick startup costs, was able to get moving.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about what that means. When you talk about detail, I'd imagine automobiles. Work with me through the high level. What do you do? What is your service, and what's that really mean for somebody like me?
Absolutely. So typically, folks that are looking to have their cars detailed, it can be a variety of services. So it could be vacuuming, it could be dusting, it could be carpet shampooing, tire dressing, rims. It's a whole option or suite, if you will, of services available to kind of just freshen up your ride, right? So a lot of us are busy people, and our cars kind of take a beating. So I'm kind of there to get them clean and kind of remind you why you want to be in that all day long.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you had a little bit of experience on the front end of this, maybe through your own vehicle or through doing this for others. And so how did you decide that this is something that you wanted to take on and do for other people?
Sure, it's a great question. So I actually have a good friend in college that I would kind of just join up on the weekends and kind of help him do it, and never really took it too seriously personally, just kind of would help. And when it all came to mind, and I thought, I could sit here and be bored all week long, or I could get out there and do something for myself and kind of be creative and be fun with it. So that's kind of how it came about. And for me, I've got a little bit of an experience to be dangerous, and of course through some YouTube, teaching me some things that I had not known or done before, I was able to kind of dabble in some more things, right? So specifically different cleaners, different techniques, kind of honing in my craft a little bit, and it's been pretty lucrative.
Okay, well, fantastic. So you're already starting to get into the next question that I'm thinking about is how do you gain these skills? And basically you brought in what you already knew and you rounded yourself out, it sounds like, with things that you needed to learn in order to fully provide yourself an opportunity to offer this suite. Am I getting the right vibe there?
Absolutely. So I think, to go in just a little bit more detail, it was important for me to be efficient.
Hmm.
A lot of times people, especially when you're a car lover, you can kind of just get immersed in how beautiful the car is and getting everything perfect. And you go from making this dollar amount an hour to making this dollar amount an hour. So, the main thing that I utilized YouTube for was to kind of get the how to be the most efficient with your business, utilizing other people that have started mobile detailing businesses and kind of taking their best practices.
Very cool. And so if we talk, that's a lot about the what. Let's shift gears a little bit into the how. And so how do you get customers? How do you find people who are interested in this service? And how do you ultimately, keep yourself busy from that point of view?
Sure. So naturally, I've got a business degree from Ball State, so I felt like I needed to rack my brain and come up with all these creative ideas to market. And I mean, I was all over the place trying to figure out how I was going to promote the business. But if I'm being honest, my best success has been from Facebook, and utilizing my word of mouth. So what I did was I made sure to blast a pretty big post. I started an actual Facebook page for the business,
Mhm.
which obviously was pretty cost effective. And from there, shared it for my personal Facebook, and the messages kind of start rolling in, where it got really, really, really positive feedback, and started to matriculate into other new business. Was the folks that I was doing the vehicles, when I would post the pictures, they would actually share it too. So I'm actually hitting a completely different audience that I normally wouldn't be hitting. So, and then on top of that, being able to actually track the analytics through Facebook is really cool.
Okay. You're talking
So
about through the business page, those types of things.
yes, so I was able to see how many folks I was reaching, how many clicks I was getting, and seeing what people like to see. Right, the pictures that I was posting, there were some popular ones. So
Yeah, and I can attest to that. When you share those pictures, it's a very visually driven detailing service that it seems like you're running. I can see the appeal of when people are sharing those that new people become interested in it because wow, Sydney made that car look really really nice. I think that maybe she could do that sort of thing for
right.
me, and so that's a good way to frame that. And it sounds like you're able to grow your sphere of influence on that beyond the people that you directly know by having other people share it too. So I think that's really cool.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you talked a little bit for a minute about how efficient you could be with your time and making sure that you're getting the best practices in there as it related to cost per hour. Without going too much into the details of exactly what your numbers are, how did you decide on that pricing model? Did you come up with best practices for that too?
Sure. So I used a couple of things, obviously utilizing the internet hugely. So looking at other people's businesses. I didn't talk about another resource I used, which was TikTok. There are
Hmm.
a ton of detailing TikTokers out there. So,
Huh.
and they're really passionate about the business, and they're passionate about showing other folks that are interested in being entrepreneurial, and giving them some tips and tricks and hints. So they actually would go down some of the models of, okay, if you're looking at, let's just throw some examples out. If you're looking at $45 an hour, for instance, for a detail, that's a that's a pretty great price point to be at, depending on services. And then naturally, how you can stick around that mark versus when that drops to maybe $25 an hour. Again, just loose examples, but that's kind of how I looked at it. Was okay, if I'm quoting your vehicle, for instance,
Mhm.
and I see pictures or I see the vehicle in person, what time do I know I'm going to need to spend on these four activities specifically that are going to take me the longest, and then obviously give or take a little bit more time for some of the extra pieces. So
Gotcha. So this is a way for you to formulate a price point based on the circumstances of a given vehicle, it sounds.
correct. And furthermore, there's actually very technical calculations that you can utilize. I haven't gone that route. It costs, and I've seen to be pretty happy with how I've done it, and my customers have been happy too. So haven't gone that route, but there actually are websites that you can put in the make, the model, what kind of services they're interested in, and it'll actually calculate what that cost per detail is going to be.
Sure, I can definitely see the point where it makes sense to try to avoid getting those extra overheads on top of what you're doing right now. It seems to me like you've done a pretty good job of keeping your costs, at least your fixed costs,
at a reasonable level such that you were able to start this business and to keep it growing really by word of mouth, and to keep the ancillary expenses that might come with starting businesses that are different from what you decided to start, that really start to rack up expenses without any gains.
Absolutely. It's important.
So from that point of view, are there anything specific that you're doing to make sure you're keeping your costs in line? Be it just making sure that you're being resourceful, or getting bulk pricing on anything. What sort of methods might you have to make sure that you're keeping yourself profitable, really?
Sure, absolutely. So one of the biggest pieces that I noticed truly in week 1 of operating was utilizing a cleaner or degreaser, for example. Not to get too deep into the weeds, but most of the cleaning that's involved in an interior detail calls for just a pretty generic degreaser or cleaner. And there's a whole slew of them on the market, right? So I did a lot of research, and a lot of these are being diluted. So you've got a dilution, so you'll just buy a big jug, and that jug could last you a summer. Whereas some folks are spending $5-6 on a bottle, and that bottle could last you 2-3 weeks. So I found my biggest gain there, because you utilize that particular product so much in the detail. It's inevitable for little pieces on the exterior and a lot of the interior just to keep everything clean. Get everything clean, get some of the Starbucks stains that are dripping down the side of the door. So that has been a huge saver for me. And then obviously buying in bulk the microfiber towels. A lot of times you look at Walmart and you'll buy 30 towels for $10 and you think, oh, that's a good deal. It's not. Utilizing, I'm a Sam's Club member, not a plug, but I'm a Sam's Club member. So I utilize their microfiber towels, and I absolutely love them. And I reuse them and wash them. And if I've got a vehicle that specifically is either a classic or a vehicle that's got a very, very sensitive paint job, I actually will invest in newer towels. But that's what you do for customers that are very, very particular about keeping their paint intact.
Completely makes sense. And as I mentioned before, this is really a visually driven business model. And so let's do a cutaway real quick, and let's show some of the different things that you've done over the last handful of months. Those are awesome details, and I really appreciate you sharing with me some of the video, or not video, but pictures, so that we can share with the audience the different types of things that you're able to do. So talk to me through this a little bit. Now that you've developed a little bit of a following, what's next for this? It sounds to me like this is at a side hustle level. Do you have any aspirations to take it beyond that, or what's that look like?
Absolutely. So that's obviously been a huge question in my mind, as well as questions that have been voiced to me all year long while I've been doing this. Naturally, I'm a salesperson at heart, so this kind of falls in line with my career outside of my side hustle. I definitely would consider taking this full time. I think right now, given COVID and so much of the unknown, I don't know if it's quite the right time to commit, but as far as a side hustle, I'm very, very happy with where we are. And, as far as growth is concerned, it's really on me to continue to promote. It's on me to continue to, utilize opportunities like speaking with you, and kind of just continuing that effort. As far as going full-fledged, we might see that in a couple years. But for now, I'm pretty happy having this as my side hustle.
Very cool. So talk to me in the beginning, or maybe in the early goings. What's something that had happened? What's something that was harder than you thought it was going to be?
Sure. This may seem obvious, but being legitimately mobile. I'm in Brownsburg. And as much as I am so blessed by my setup here, it's not ideal to do every single vehicle in Brownsburg.
Mhm.
So I've been really fortunate to go out to McCordsville, down to Bargersville. I mean, I've gone as far as 50 plus miles outside of my home to do details. So the hardest thing is when I have a customer that actually requests me not to do the vehicle at their home or on site, and actually have me drive down there, then pick the vehicle up, drive it back, do the detail on site here, and then drive it back, then drive home. That's a long day.
Yeah,
So
I can appreciate that for sure. So let's not take this opportunity lost to take a step back in the interesting part about mobile detailing. It sounds to me like you bring everything to the table to the customer, probably with the exception of water. Do I have that correct?
correct. So the one major investment that I have not made is obviously a pretty sound one of having your own water, your own electricity.
Mhm.
And I always try to be full closure and upfront with the customer, wanting to make sure that they're comfortable with that, let them know that that's something I'm going to be needing. But a lot of folks are really, really happy with the fact that, hey, I'm working from home. All I have to do is shoot you a wave. Hey, Sid, keys are right here. Have at it. I like to take my time. Typically, a detail will take about 4 hours. So it affords them the opportunity to not be inconvenienced. And
Sure.
I found that even with utilizing the electricity and water, they still find it that it's a worthwhile service.
Absolutely. So to shift gears a little bit, is there something that you've learned over the last handful of months, something that you want to get better at?
Sure. I still think that for me, finding the most effective true marketing campaign. I feel like I've done something and it's kind of worked for the last 6, 7 months or so. But kind of getting outside of the box. That's my marketing degree. I mean, come on. So I think I owe it to myself to be creative here and kind of think of some unique ways, especially when we're coming into winter season.
Mhm.
I can tell you personally, I have frozen my tail off the last week working in 46-degree weather. So, even being garaged, it's still kind of cold. So, trying to think of some creative ways to promote interior details is my next step, because I definitely want to keep this going while we're kind of in that winter mode, because people are spending time in their cars still. It doesn't go away just because the sun does. So,
Yeah, I think that makes total sense and sounds like a worthwhile pursuit. So I want to ask one final question in regards to starting a side hustle. And what's something, maybe a piece of advice or a piece of inspiration? What would you say to somebody who's watching that has an idea for a side hustle and hasn't gotten it off the ground yet for whatever reason? Maybe they're not ready, not capable, not willing to take the risk. Maybe they're afraid. What's something that you could tell them to maybe get them over their fear, over their anxiety, something like that? Do you have any inspiration in mind?
absolutely. And obviously, it comes from personal experience. The biggest thing that's going to keep you from doing this is you doubting the fact that you're going to be successful. And, not to say that you're not going to stumble over some items that are just inevitable, but you really do have to push yourself and say, if this is something that you believe in, other people will see that and they'll respect that and they'll want to be a part of that. So I think the biggest part of my success and what I would encourage other people to consider is, you know people can see the passion behind what you're doing and why you're doing it. So if you continue to, let that be your goal versus, well, what if this doesn't work out, or whatever the other, negative options that you're looking at potentially, kind of hitting you in the ear, look at that passion, let that passion drive your business and let that passion drive the decision to go ahead and start. I don't regret this at all. I've really enjoyed this more than I ever could have imagined. And I definitely intend on continuing it. So.
That is an awesome way to put it. I've heard once before that people have the ability to measure risk, but don't have the ability to measure reward. And I think you frame that well in such a way that you have to take that risk. And it sounds like you've done it in such a way that you've minimized your risks by using your own hours, by using your own methods to keep risk low. And I think you've done a good job of building up on the bonuses and the positive points of getting a side hustle off the ground. And I just want to commend you for it. I appreciate you telling me your story. And before we wrap this episode up, would you be willing to join me in a handful of rapid style questions known as the how-to cues?
Absolutely. I'd be remiss if I didn't say yes.
All right. Question number 1. What is the best book that you have read in the last 12 months?
Oh, The Notebook.
All right. That is awesome.
Absolutely.
Question number 2. Is there a favorite podcast you have or a podcast that you're subscribed to?
Oh, I'm so excited to answer this question. I am obsessed with the podcast True Crime Obsessed. It's my favorite.
There we go. That's a fun one. All right. In your personal or in your professional life, question number 3, what has been the best recent purchase of less than $100?
Oh, my new phone case. I absolutely love it. It's got a little ring on the back, and it keeps me sane.
Yeah, that's functional. I like it. All right. Question number 4. Assuming that this is a weekday, what time did you wake up this morning?
7:30 every day.
All right. Very good. Question number 5, just for fun. What color is your toothbrush?
It's blue. Everything's always blue.
All right. The purpose for that question is just to see if people pay enough attention to know the answer to that one. That's a lot of fun.
Dorky, but I know.
I love it. And question number 6, and the last question I've got for you is, where can people find out more about you and Dependable Detail?
Absolutely. So like I mentioned before, Facebook, just put in search bar Dependable Detail. That should pop right up for us, based out of Indy. And that's where you'll find us, and my number's on there. And if anybody's interested, just give me a shout.
Very cool, Sydney. Again, I appreciate you being on the How To Show. Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Special thanks to Sydney for joining me on this week's episode of the show. I know I really enjoyed it, and I took away some things that I think will be useful to me in my side hustles, and I hope you'll be able to do the same. And if you've got an idea for a side project, now is the good time of year to start that, because, you know, life is kind of winding down. I know between Thanksgiving and Christmas, things generally slow down for a lot of folks. And if you've got an idea to get something off the ground, now might be the time to get at it. So if you've got any questions or any feedback for Sydney or for me, leave a comment on this video and I'll make sure that those get answered. And if you think that this is a video that others would benefit from watching, hit the like button so that the YouTube algorithm knows that and it'll share this video with other people. And go ahead and share it yourselves. If there's somebody that you know in your life that might be looking to start a business or a side hustle, show them this video and show them that everyday people are doing this so they can do it too. So if you want to hear more about how-to topics, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. New videos still come out every Wednesday, and so it'd mean the world for me if you'd check those out as they come out. Until next time, this is Anthony Drew Gary, host of The How To Show, signing off.